What up, everyone? Welcome back to Blade Bias. 2022 is now behind us, for better or for worse. And I just wanted to take some time to look back and reflect on this year in a YouTube sense, in the YouTube side of my life. As I've said before, I keep the split of my YouTube, my personal side. Personal side we won't get into. But on the YouTube side, 2022 was a really great year. We had a lot of growth. We had the start of Blade Bias. Ty and I kind of found our voices and our place in the Balisong community. We went to Blade Show, we met a bunch of people, and it just was an overall really, really cool year. In fact, in many ways, it was the thing that saved my year. Where do I go? How do I start? How do you start a year in review? I'm not even sure. Like, I guess you start at the beginning. That would make sense. Beginning of the year, Blade Bias didn't exist, which is interesting to think about. It's crazy to think about Blade Bias. Blade Bias has only existed since the middle of May, I believe. Is that right? Because we uploaded the first Blade Bias video. Oh, no. The first Blade Bias video was the podcast. Right, the podcast. We should sit down and talk about the podcast sometime. The first episode of Blade Bias was the podcast, and then the second episode. And then, like, a month and a half in, we uploaded our first head-mounted video when I was down with Ty in Florida. So Blade Bias existed since, like, April. And then we made videos periodically while I was with Ty in Florida to middling success, but success overall, especially for us back then. And it just kind of stayed that way. We both uploaded whenever we wanted, which turned out to be, it was kind of like a Will Hirsch Flip style upload schedule, uploading whenever we really felt like it. And whether that happened to be every 2 weeks or every month or every day, it's kind of what we did. And then in the middle of summer, I was home and extremely bored and decided to just record a bunch of Blade Bias videos and upload them like 4 days in a row. And I told Ty about it, and he said, what if we did a system where we upload daily, but we switch back and forth? So like you upload on the even numbers of the month, and I'll upload on the odd numbers of the month. And it was perfect because you could pre-record 3 videos over the weekend, which didn't take that long, as opposed to pre-recording 6 videos over the weekend. And then the channel would have daily uploads, and the audience would have some variety. Because Blade Bias was initially meant for us to just combine our second channels. We both wanted a second channel so that we could talk about stuff and make videos that were less involved and less time-consuming. So we decided to make Blade Bias to combine it because our second channels on their own would work, but probably wouldn't be anything special. But then if we combine them, not only did it give us an opportunity to upload more, but it gave the audience an opportunity to have some variation from day to day. So one day you're listening to me talk about my opinion on the swordfish. The next, you're hearing Ty actually have the swordfish in his hands and talk about it. You get to see all the stuff that Ty's got, all the stuff that I've got, our different sides on things, our similar sides on things. Like, I think it was a great idea. But to get back to the story, Ty suggested that we do that, and he recorded a few videos, and then we started the daily upload thing. And I think ever since then, aside from a few days, I have remained very consistent in uploading every other day. Ty hasn't, and he admits that, and that's okay. Like, I do not blame him for that at all because his life is much busier than mine, especially when I'm off school. When I'm off school, this is where I reside. I don't do much. My friends are all from college, and they don't live around me, so I don't really have much to do, especially living in the middle of nowhere like we do. So I totally get why Ty wasn't as consistent, and I'm not blaming him nor calling him out or anything like that. But yeah, we've remained very consistent, and I think it's allowed the growth of the channel to start, because the growth of the channel around when we started doing daily uploads just took off. And I think that's because the Balisong community in general is kind of starved for content. Most of the content that you get is highly produced reviews. And those take such a long time. You'll never get to a point where you're uploading even weekly, much less daily. So I think the community has really resonated with having daily uploads from creators like me and Ty, just talking about things, trying not to be too controversial in the things that we talk about, unlike a certain similar style video uploader. Not calling anyone out, not calling anyone out, you know, it's just how it goes. Anyway, yeah, and then after that, it just kind of took off, and here we are. Sometimes blade bias is very difficult, not very difficult. It's difficult to come up with topics, and I fumble over everything and all that, but at the end of the day, it's probably one of the most rewarding things that I have done in the Bally community besides my live streams, because people just seem to enjoy it, and I'm very happy to see that. And also this year, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Blade Show. We uploaded a few Blade Show videos on blade bias, and Blade Show is just the coolest thing ever. Blade Show is so cool. In a niche hobby like the Balisong community where there aren't many people, specifically that live around you, I'm sure everyone in the Balisong community can kind of empathize with being the only flipper that you know of. Like, no one else really flips. I mean, I've had Ty, and all the friends that I've showed Balisong flipping have seemed super into it. One person in particular, who I've mentioned before with the whole Green Arctic thing, was very, very into it. So that was cool. But going to a place like Blade Show and just being surrounded and smothered almost by people who have the same interests as you is just the best thing ever. And it's something that I really implore anyone who is able to go experience, because Blade Show weekend, hanging out with everyone, Will and Brandon, the community, Dalen, Grant, meeting all the makers, Lucas, Squid Industries, like seeing people flip in person, trying all these cool Balisongs. One of the best weekends of my life, easily. And easily takes 2022 up to another level for me, especially in a year that was filled with just rough patches in my personal side of things. So Blade Show, highly recommend. One of the coolest things I've ever done. And just the overall support. Like, I know people, like 2,000 subscribers, which I think we'll be at by the time I upload this video, is not a lot. And, like, okay, I need to rephrase that. That sounds really bad. It'll make sense when I explain it. No, 2,000 is a ton of people. But in the grand scheme of YouTube, it's like, it's not too much. But in the Balisong community, that is a huge number. So to have that in a year, less than a year on Blade Bias, really, is just astounding. And that number is just, like, unreal. I'm not going to get into all, like, the sappy YouTuber thank yous that everyone does, but it is genuinely unreal that we have built what we have this year. So thank you guys so much. Now that the year is over, I think I've thanked you guys for that in every Blade Bias upload so far. I promise I'll stop soon. And by soon, I mean after this video, because then we'll be in 2023, and then it's on to a whole new year of cool shit to do. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it. It was a crazy year. A lot happened, and here we go into 2023. Here's to what 2023 will bring us, and here's to hopefully a lot more daily uploads, a lot more fun Balisongs, a lot more fun discussions and opinions, and just a lot more of everything we've been doing this year. I really do thank you guys, and I look forward to doing it again next year. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.